So a commercial real estate collapse seems to be brewing. What can we do to prepare and take advantage of this change in this sector?
The thing that caught me up, like 20% office vacancy rates. Now, of course, when I go through New York, I was there last week, beautiful city. The energy is always amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm Midtown going on Fifth, I'm not seeing anyone in the office. So to have 20% vacancy rates in the United States is insane. If you're currently invested in there, you may have
more.
I think the real number, maybe, and I don't want to come on to be sensational, but I think it's a lot higher. Because if it's 20% in New York, what is it in Indianapolis or Jacksonville? Like, another person told me to off the record, he's like, please don't mention my name, but McCormick Place in Chicago, where they have the big conventions. He said they haven't filled up a convention since 2019. So even before COVID hit, they could, like, the last time an event was at max capacity was 2018. That's scary.
Yeah. That's a huge, that's right by Soldier Field.
Yeah. Huge. So if you're not having these commercial spaces being filled up and now money's getting tight, even like I always say, I go to the Galleria, it's drier than I've ever seen it. It's really interesting. Even Hudson Yards, that traffic is down. Like once the offices are closed and everyone's leaving, I think it may be as high as maybe 30%, but no one wants to say it.
All those things that you just said are the reason why when the Fed looks at it, they're like, this is working. Right?
True.
Right? So they're looking at it like perfect. For every reason you just said, right? People are not in stores, which means they're not spending money. Prices are going up. Things are slowing down. I don't see people consumer prices indexes. Every sign that you just said is like, all right, perfect. This is working.
It's working.
This is what we need. But the reverse effect or the inverse effect is that, right, if people are in those buildings, those businesses are liable, especially if the malls, those businesses are going to be obsolete.
Yeah.
They won't need them. You take that into account and you add into AI, factor into it, like in 5 to 10 years, what does that look like?
I mean, I was looking at some stores that are bound to close. Of course, Bed Bath & Beyond's already on the way. GameStop is on its last leg. Like, we're seeing a lot of companies that are beginning to close up or make preparations to do so. And that's an indicator that I always look at. Before the 2020 crash, when the Toys R Us right by my house closed up, I was like, oh, this is not good. And to see these companies continue to fall apart that were major staples in not only like the sector, but in the country, that's really scary. Like Walmart's consolidating, closing in Chicago. Like,
exactly. They closed down 4 stores, right? But that means there's 4 stores of people who don't have a job, which helps the unemployment rate go up. Which is, again, a factor that you need.
It sucks. They put all this quantitative easing out and then want to destroy the employment of people off of an issue that they caused from the quantitative easing.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why we kind of stress it. Like, everybody needs to have or learn a skill.
Yeah, you have to.
Right? Because if you have a skill and you put yourself in an asset class that you almost have something of an advantage that somebody else doesn't have. Right? You can create for yourself, you can create for others. If you're just working for somebody, things like this are going to affect you, right? And it might affect you individually, or it might affect like your family or your community. But the federal government is looking at it like, this is what's needed. It's what's needed for us to proceed.
Yeah, and GDP is slowing down. Like, it's scary.
Yeah.
And the biggest innovation we've had is Bitcoin and Tesla the last 10, 15 years. Like, I don't see a whole bunch of, outside of AI, and it's really going to be like 2 or 3 players that win there. There isn't like enough companies that are producing enough GDP for the United States of America. But if you come to InvestFest and Market Mondays Live, maybe you will be the one that makes a change, and we can connect you to 816Z or Y Combinator to help you get funded. That could lead the future.
That's good. This guy's good.
You know, let media training.
Future-proof yourself if you are not at these events.
Yes.
It's going to be difficult.
It's going to be difficult.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that commercial real estate definitely has to change. The office space will never be the same again. It doesn't make sense for people to go into the office as they used to. So, I think commercial real estate, I think, it's more warehouses for shipping, drop shipping, like Amazon, stuff like that. Storage.
semis,
Yeah.
different things like that being used. That has to be physically, even like Bitcoin mining centers, stuff like that. These are things that, you know, in the new age of commercial real estate, it's not just going to be just people sitting behind desk. It might not be anybody in there at all. Just a whole landscape of computers that's working off of AI.
Yeah.
That's, you know, trading stocks, like,
Yeah.
and they need somewhere to actually be housed and at a cool temperature.
Did you see the ChatGPT?
Yeah.
It outperformed.
Oh yeah.
It's past the bar, and now it's outperforming indexing.
Everyone keep asking, "Are you worried?" I'm like, no, that only brings my value up. I hope one day ChatGPT gets like 30% return.
Yeah.
So I can be like, hey, great. Because what we need, because even in the banking and investment space, most people who are there are not good. A lot of them learn the game of how to work their way into the empire, but don't necessarily have the skill set. So I would love to see some of these get disrupted. Like we're in a massive change over the next 5 or 10 years, and I'm excited to see it. I really am.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.